there, hi there, ho there, welcome back to Richard's Toy Room once again. Today's video, as you can see, is another plastic model kit review and build. Now this kit, I recently got it from the big clearance sale at Hobby Lobby. So this is the latest version of this model. This was also released as the Starsky and Hutch Gran Torino, and obviously Revell reused the mold to offer you just your basic two-door Torino model without having to pay the licensing for the Starsky and Hutch tie-in. And that is quite obvious when you look at the red plastic that you get. See if I can find a spot where you can see this. Right here, these are the taillights down here. Right here is the flashing red light that goes on the roof for the Starsky and Hutch. So you just basically pumped the same mold for this. Now you don't get the Starsky and Hutch rims or the Starsky and Hutch decal that goes on it, and there's probably a couple other parts that I'm unaware of because I do not have the Starsky and Hutch version of this. But that's okay. I'm fine with that. I just wanted to build this mid-70s Torino. So that said, let's take a look at the box real quick and then we'll get on with it. So on this side you don't get much, just your typical information that Revell gives you on like parts count and stuff like that. And then on this side they do show some of the features of the kit, just a few odd pictures of some shots of a completed model. Now here's your Revell instruction sheet. These are usually pretty nice. This is a booklet and it's fairly comprehensive. That's why I've always kind of enjoyed doing Revell kits, because they do kind of care about their customers. The only model company so far, and I'm basing this on one model, but just based on that one model, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they're excellent, are the Mobius. I do have at least one more Mobius, perhaps two, to build. I just haven't put it into my line of kits that I'm going to do yet. It's just kind of, as I go through and figure out what kit I want to do, I go, well, should I do this one? And then I see another one I'd rather do first. So, but it's coming up. Trust me, it'll be here soon. So on the Revell kit, they give you a whole list of all the parts you get. If I remember right on the box, I said this is like 93 parts. I thought it was 100 and something parts. This kit has 93 parts. So here's, I mean, there's not really much to really go through in here. I'm just kind of showing you the instruction sheet just for the sake of showing it. I mean, basically same as almost any other car. You start with your engine and your chassis and your suspension and exhaust and your drivetrain. And you kind of start on the interior. Here's your wheels. Do want to mention one thing on these. Revell, for some reason, they went to on some of their more recent kits. I'm not sure when they started this. They give you these metal pins, and this is how you attach the wheels. See, there's the metal pin here. Goes through the wheel back and then goes into the axles, or where the axles would go. I have had problems with these at times where they didn't want to fit right, or they were too loose, or the wheels were all wobbly. So we'll see what happens. And this one's nice because you get separate door panels, although they do mold the seat in, the rear seat, into the interior bucket. I guess if that's the worst part of it, that's, you know, not all that bad, but it just involves usually involves taping off because it's not always the same color as like the carpet or even the same texture. Like you might want it like a flat or a satin, and maybe you want the seats either a gloss or whatever. Anyway, but having separate door panels gives you a lot of detail because they can stamp them, or not stamp them, mold them better that way and give you a lot more deeper detail on them. Weirdly though, they do have the battery molded into the body for some reason. I don't know why. That's kind of odd. And the booster for the master cylinder, but they do give you a master, which is not included in some kits. A couple that I've done recently haven't had anything. And here you go, putting the body on the chassis, doing your final trims with bumpers and the grill and headlights and stuff like that, taillights, throw on your mirror and hood. The only thing I noticed that they don't give you on this kit is a hood emblem. I mean, hood ornament. That would have been nice. I guess it would have been pretty tiny and probably maybe hard to mold, but it can be done. I've seen it before. That would have been nice because I always like realism, and these had a stand-up hood ornament on them. But here it tells you where to put the decals and stuff. So I mean, as long as we're mentioning decals, let's take a look at those. These are actually pretty nice. They give you a lot of decals here. They give you the wood grain for the dash, the steering wheel. Here's your license plates. I'm not sure what all of these are. Like here's your gauges. These must be for the wheels, hubcaps, I'm guessing. Looks like maybe some reflectors, keyholes, Ford letters, and then like your Torino, Gran Torino side emblem, stuff like that. So as long as they adhere properly, these will be nice to add some fine detail and realism to the car when you finish it off. Get that out of the way. And I already showed you the red parts. All it is taillights and a siren light, which we're not going to use. Here's all the chrome parts. That's it. So they give you the mirror glass lenses, whatever you want to call them, for the side view mirrors, and then the rear view mirror, the headlight buckets, and the front and rear bumper on that one. And then they give you the grill. This is the part that goes in the rear above the bumper. It's you put the taillights in here, and then there's a center part that goes in here that's usually like body color or something, and it's a separate plastic piece that will glue in there, but it's all chrome trim around. So this was a very smart way for them to do that instead of having to pick out all that with paint. And then four kind of standard looking Ford hubcaps for the time period. Here's your clear parts. I will leave these in the plastic for now. You got a separate rear and front windshield, and they also give you the little rear quarter glass. Not the door glass, but behind the doors for the rear side windows. And then your separate headlight glass, which I like. Let's take a look at the white parts. There's a lot of white parts in here. Okay, so that's all the white parts, except for the body. We'll show you that last. So what you got, here's your, like I mentioned, your door panels, very detailed. And your interior with the textured, somewhat textured carpet, rear seat, front seat. It comes in two pieces. You have to put the back on it. It's a split bench, which is common back then. Here is your floor pan, chassis pan, whatever you want to call it, with the gas tank molded in as usual. Got some detail under there, it's nice. I like how they give you all the separate suspension parts. Like, speaking of, here's the front suspension with all the steering linkage and stabilizer bar and all that doodad. these two little parts are actually filler for the front corners where the bumper goes. On each side there's one. It's probably easier to mold the body like this than to have that all squared off. But no big deal. We'll probably glue those on before we paint the body. And here's your dash. It's got a lot of nice detail in that. And of course I showed you there's some decals that are going to be going in there. Your hood. Here's the back of the front seat. It also has a little ashtray. I remember that. I had that on my Cougar, I believe, was like that. Your steering column with levers. Your separate brake and gas pedal. Oh, see, here's another part from the Starsky and Hutch kit right here. This is a CB radio, and they were popular back then, so we could actually use this and wouldn't have to necessarily be a cop car. I'll consider that. You got a license plate bracket, your side view mirrors, which would be body color probably, and steering wheel. I think I pointed that out. Oh, another thing on the back here, the hood has these long, like, built-in hinges, so you can actually, like, when you put it in, you can open it and it'll stay open and pivot and not come off. So that's a nice feature. I used to remember that from kits a lot when I was a kid. They just don't seem to do that anymore. Here's part of your rear axle and your water pump and your radiator and shroud all in one piece. Here are your wheel backs, some engine parts, and the other part of your rear axle. Nice detail on there. Yeah, I'm pointing out on this one, they also give you the little air intake tube. You never get that on cars models. In fact, they're always missing on the real cars, on the vintage ones. But that's kind of a nice touch there that they added. Here you got your front radiator support, your exhaust, dual exhaust all in one piece. Looks like a tranny pan. I think that's your evaporator core case for under the hood, and that's all that's on there. And these are pretty much all engine parts except for your drive shaft and shocks here. It's been a while since I've got a kit that had a separate trans and engine, and this is obviously no different. They're all one piece, or one. When you put it together, it's all one unit with the tranny and the engine. But I have had them before where you build the transmission and then you build the engine and glue those two parts together. I don't care either way. It's just easier to paint when they're separate. Before I show you the body, I almost forgot the tires. So these are no name. They're rubber. You got white walls on one side and black walls on the other. I will probably use the white walls. And maybe if we were doing Starsky and Hutch, they probably would just be black wall. I can't remember if they were white walls on Starsky's car or not, but either way, we'll most likely use the white wall because it's just going to be a standard stock passenger car. And finally, we have the really nicely molded body of this mid-70s Ford. Show the back end of that, front end. Like I said, you got your battery molded in here and a couple other parts like your coil and your inner wheel wells. It does have the Gran Torino and Ford and all that already molded in. I guess you probably, if you were going to use the decals, you should shave them off, but I always like to leave them on because then I know exactly where they go and hope that the decals stick. I haven't had a problem yet, you know, but you always kind of wonder if they're going to come off when you got a little bit of stuff underneath them. I bought some decal set. I couldn't find the Tamiya one like some people online recommend to use. So they did have this tester's kind. I can't imagine it's that much worse or anything. But I've used it a couple times so far on some small decals and it seems to work fine. But eventually I'll probably get that Tamiya kind that everybody recommends. For now I'm going to use that. So anyhow, that's it. You know, it'd be nice actually is if they could modify this mold a little bit. I'm not sure how hard that would be or if it would be irreversible, but they could make a 40 elite out of this. And if any of you are familiar with what the 40 elite is, it's basically this body, but it's got different trim and different options on it. And plus, the easiest way to tell a 40 elite is it has dual vertical opera windows on the third or the C pillar here, and that was unique to the 40 elite. And what I didn't even notice until I was looking up some pictures on this Torino to decide kind of what color I wanted to do it. The 40 elite, so see, the Torino has quad headlights, but the 40 elite has just dual headlights, one round headlight on each side. I've never realized that before. And of course the grill's a little different and the taillights and stuff like that. But that would be a nice little, just a little different car to build. Plus I believe the 40 elites, don't quote me on this, but I think they all had vinyl tops. But anyway, just for Revell, if you're listening and you're still in business and have money to do stuff, that would be something you might be able to do with one of your molds for this. Put out a 40 elite model. So anyway, that's everything in the kit. And so if everything works out the way that I'm expecting it to, the next thing you should see is an update. So stay tuned. So here's the update on the 76 Ford Gran Torino. As you can see, I chose to paint it a green on green. It's got these are both Rust-Oleum paints. This first one on the interior is, I believe that's called Ivy Green. And then on the exterior is a dark Hunter Green. The interior is that 2X or whatever kind of Rust-Oleum, but the exterior is actually the more, I guess, generic or whatever Rust-Oleum spray paint. It's the one that's not the 2X. I just happen to have two Hunter Greens. I did have one in the 2X and I had the one in this, the regular can, but this one was just a little bit darker and that's what I wanted to go for on it. So as far as updates on any problems with the kit, really nothing. Everything has gone together pretty nice. Oh wait, no, there was one thing. Watch the thing here. You see how wobbly the wheels are? As I suspected and mentioned earlier, I don't like the Revell's pin method of putting these on. I think maybe the only way that I could have avoided this was maybe to put the pin in first and then glue the wheel and the hubcap on after, but that would have been pretty difficult and hard to get it to sit right. So this is the what you have to deal with on the offset for that. But as you can see, the engine came together pretty good here. Everything looks good there. You got some decals up here by the fan shroud. And I already got the body and interior together here. I got the glass in. I got most of the trim done on the top part. I haven't done like the part along the bottom and the doors, like door handles and the sill trim or the rocker trim and stuff like that. Still has to be done. And then obviously decals and stuff. But I've already started doing under the hood here with the master and the evaporator case and the painting the molded in battery. So, you know, we got actually not too much left to go here. The next step is putting this the body on the chassis and then pretty much just assembling the rest of the leftover parts. So I may have this done by as early as tomorrow. But chances are, since I'm working on other things here, as you can see, I'm doing the 300 that you can watch the video on that soon after this one. I'm sure will be up first. But you see I got all the parts here kind of losing their tackiness, and I still have to paint the body on it. But that's another video. So anyway, there's your update. And I really don't foresee any other problems, but you never know. I mean, this is where I usually run into problems, is when this body has to go to this frame. Sometimes they just don't want to fit right. I don't know why, but it seems like that's when I have no other issues. That seems to be the one issue that pops up. But we'll see what happens. So stay tuned. Okay, so welcome to the final reveal of this Gran Torino. I think it turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. As far as any other issues since the update, no real issues with the decals. Everything else went together pretty well. The only issue I had was the rear bumper here. In the instructions, it shows that it's supposed to have 2 pins, not the bumper, but this part with the taillights above it. It's supposed to be 2 pins that go into 2 holes in the body. That doesn't exist on either part. It must have been something in an older kit or whatever like that they changed. And for some reason, in between, right in the middle, like where the trunk lock is, there is a raised bar going towards the back of the car, which would force you to bend this panel in. And I didn't think that would hold very well with the glue. That there's a chance it could like pop back out a little bit. I mean, it wasn't a whole lot of movement that would have to go, just enough where it would just give it just the slightest little curve, kind of to match the trunk. I'm thinking that was their whole reasoning behind that. But I didn't like the way that was designed, so I shaved that off and put this in flush. I mean, if you look down from the top, you can see that the middle is in a little farther than each end because it's all flat now. But I like it better that way. I'm happy because I'm not sure how well that glue would have held that part in. So I don't think there was any other issues with this kit. It's a pretty good kit. The hood doesn't seem to quite want to stay down completely all the way. It might be just slightly warped or something. Trying not to get fingerprints all over it. I did put a coat of this on it, which I thought helped make it look even better. It hit a little bit of the orange peel that was on there. Well, it hit a lot of it. So, I don't know the long term of this pledge stuff. If it, I've heard it turns yellow, but I mean, you wouldn't really see that too much unless it was a white car or a very light color car. But I don't know, how long this stuff actually will last on the car without turning funny or whatever. But I mean, whatever. It looks good now. I'm happy with it. So the main thing I really didn't like, what I mentioned earlier, was how the wheels attached. So basically that's it. Good kit. I'd very highly recommend it. I think you'd be happy building it and happy with it. Just watch out for those couple things that I pointed out. So let me get it on the turntable here and give you a nice close-up 360 view of this, and we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.
This Torino's got spirit, looks, and it's built solid. What more could you want?
You've got a solid car. Ford Torino is a solid car. Right down the road in style, smooth and quiet by the mile.
The solid mid-size Ford Torino at your Ford dealers. The closer you look, the better we look.